Printing DTF transfers at home or running DTF printers in your house could be potentially hazardous to you and your family's health. So I touched up on this just a little bit in the video where I talked about my experience with a DTG printer. If you haven't watched that video, I highly suggest you check it out. It's this one right here. It's going to be linked down in the comments below. In that video, I talked about just a little bit how one of the reasons I purchased a DTG printer was so that way I can also make DTF transfers so I could sell those. And I did that for a little bit, but I eventually stopped because the fumes were really getting to my head. Literally, it was giving me huge headaches. On top of that, it was making me feel dizzy sometimes. And overall, it kind of messed with me. It messed with my asthma too. I don't have bad asthma. I had asthma from a long time ago because I used to smoke cigarettes. Kick that habit. If you're doing that, if you smoke cigarettes, I highly suggest you stop. It's really bad for you.
Yes, yes.
But one of the repercussions from smoking cigarettes was the fact that I got asthma. And thankfully, it's not really bad. These fumes made me feel like I needed an inhaler, something that I barely ever need. Now, I don't know all the details, but I was watching a video from Garmin Creations talking about the dangers of DTF powder. And in it, he talks about somebody who he refers to as Brother Ernest, who was just diagnosed with cancer, unfortunately. So my thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. Now, in that video, he briefly touches up on it. He just mentions it, but he pretty much says that this is potentially a side effect of exposure to DTF powder and DTF fumes. And I have to agree, you don't know what's going on with those fumes. Those fumes it's something that just recently came out. It's something that was just recently made available to the public. So there's no data to suggest any long-term effects with this. So you don't know what negative side effects this can come up with. Now, to be fair, I wasn't ventilating it in my office at the time. So all I did was open up my windows. So I did have a bit more direct exposure to it than somebody that, let's say, would have a fan or an exhaust, something to take out the fumes. If you have one of those, if you have an exhaust to take out the fumes, then that means you're potentially running a pretty big operation, or you're at least printing on a daily basis. Now, if that's the case, then there are a lot of fumes that are associated to this, even if you have an extractor. So I would smell it inside my office every once in a while. Now, imagine with DTF powders. So DTF powder, it produces a lot of vapor or smoke or whatever it is that's coming out of it. And again, long-term exposure, you don't know how bad it could get. So one of the things that I felt was having to cough, right? So on top of having to use my inhaler, I had to cough a little bit. And it felt like I was trying to cough things out of my lungs. So anything that I would inhale, maybe it could start to, I don't know, coat your lungs with it. So that's something that could very, very well be possible because those things, it gets sticky. Now, I know a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of videos of people making DTF transfers at home with no ventilation or with just their windows open, and they're curing it with a heat press. Now, I don't know how often they're doing it. I don't know how they're feeling afterwards or how they're feeling overall, but I don't know. It's scary. Honestly, it's very scary. The biggest reason why I stopped, aside from because of how I felt, was because at the time, my wife was actually pregnant and my 5-year-old was running around the entire house everywhere. I don't want to take that risk. So I stopped that part of the business and I stopped making DTF transfers overall. Now, what I do is I actually outsource them to TKO Sales. I know you guys have seen me promote TKO Sales a lot. I work with them and they're a great brand with great products. Now, I've actually been to the TKO warehouse and I've seen their entire setup for their DTF printing. And let me tell you that it is a lot more complex than what a lot of people have at home. Now, this is also something that Erastus from Garmin Creations touches up in his video, but their setup compared to what I've seen a lot of people have in their house it's insane. Obviously, they have a lot more production. It's mass produced. So they are going to have a pretty much more complex system to be able to extract fumes. But at the same time, they do this because they need to protect their people. They need to protect their employees. They also have access to more industrial materials, more industrial equipment, stuff that is essentially a bit more efficient, especially at a larger scale. There's a lot of people that are running printers that, are the same size as the ones that they're running in TKO. They're probably running 1, sometimes 2 in their house, and they're printing a lot of transfers. Do you think that the ventilation for something like that is going to be efficient? Do you think it's going to be something that down the line is something that's going to be sustainable? Is it something that's going to be efficient? Is it something that is actually going to protect you? So let me know down in the comments below your thoughts. What do you think about DTF powder? And let me know what you think of the fumes and its overall safety and whether or not you think there's a hazard behind it. Do you think a fume extractor is enough? Do you think you need something a bit more industrial? Some people, like I said, don't have anything and they just have the windows open like I did. Overall, my thoughts, if you're printing your own shirts, there's no need to print your own transfers. There's too much maintenance that goes into those machines anyway, in my opinion. Again, some people don't mind it. If you're printing shirts for your own brand or for other people, then I suggest just going with DTF transfers. That's what I would do. I would just outsource the transfers rather than print them myself. But if you're selling transfers, now that's a bit of a different story. But there are places out there are businesses out there that will sell you transfers at a wholesale price, so that way you can resell them and you still make a profit and you don't have to do anything. You're essentially drop shipping transfers. Now, what about DTF transfers? Are those hazardous? Do those also have the same fumes? I don't know. But what I can tell you is that I have always pressed DTF transfers in my office, in a smaller office than the one I have now, with the windows closed, and I've never in my life had even a headache. While yeah, you might still be getting some exposure to a little bit of fumes, it's nowhere near the amount that you get with, let's say, a bigger printer. And again, that's not something that anybody's gonna be able to know or find out until maybe another 5 years, maybe another 10 years, maybe 20. You never know. But with that being said, let me know your thoughts on this entire matter down in the comments below. Now, if you want to try outsourcing your transfers and hitting up TKO Sales, then you can use my code NECOPRINT to get 10% off your first order at tkosales.com. Huge thank you to everyone for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. As always, if you made it this far, that means that you absolutely enjoyed this video and you want to keep watching more. So make sure you smash that like button. It really helps me out, and not only me, but it also helps the channel out. And this channel is me. It's my personal brand. So yeah, it helps me out. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell notification so you don't miss out on any future videos. Huge thank you to everyone for watching once again. My name is Mario with NECOPRINT. Catch y'all next time. Peace.